Hey, my name's Steven, coming at you from Florida.
Hello, y'all. This is Kevin coming from Texas.
My name's David. I'm coming from the heartland, Ohio.
And welcome to the Brothers
Corn Podcast.
And we're excited to talk to you.
Yes, we are.
Hey, Kevin.
Yo.
What's up, man?
Nothing. What's up with you?
Not much, just kicking back. New episode of BBP. What do you think of that acronym for Brothers Born Podcast? BBP. Don't you feel kind of gangster when you say that?
No.
I feel super cool. Like, yo, new episode of BBP just dropped on Sunday. Doesn't that just sound like legit?
No, but then again, you do play Dungeons and Dragons, so I guess that would be something you would like.
Well, whatever. BBP is my acronym. It's our acronym, whether you like it or not.
Okay, that's fine.
So no Dave today again, which is, it's all right, but it gives us a chance to really bond as brothers, middle brother and younger brother. So let's start that bonding. What have you been up to lately?
Bonding? Okay, so not too much. Though I did I don't know if you remember a few years ago there was an anime called Last Exile.
Yes, I listened to the soundtrack and I used the music from it in my D&D campaign, actually.
Nerd. Anyways, so I rewatched that this past week and a half or so.
The soundtrack is absolutely beautiful in that show. It's very Celtic, and I like it a lot. I don't remember the show that well, but I love the music.
Yeah, it's a good soundtrack. But yeah, so I watched that. That was cool.
That's sweet. I finished playing Final Fantasy 12 finally. I finally beat it. It's one more down under my belt. I've now beaten Final Fantasy 4, 7, 9, 10, and 12, and Tactics. So my goal is to play every mainline Final Fantasy game before the end of my life. So I'm a third of the way there, I guess. I don't know. I haven't done the math, but I guess I won't ever play 11 because it was an online thing that I don't even know if people play that anymore. But I heard 14, which is also online, is very good though.
I was gonna say, wasn't it 14 or 15 like that? I don't even know how many of those games there are anymore.
They just announced 16. Actually, it's coming out within the next year or two sometime. It looks pretty cool. But that was my main thing. And then what else I've been doing? Oh, I started watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is pretty cheesy but awesome at the same time.
I never watched it. Well, I think about it. I watched the movie, the original movie, the OG movie, but I never watched the TV show. And I never watched the TV show because I watched the OG movie and I didn't want to ruin the movie for myself by watching this stupid TV show. So I never did.
It's not bad. It's dated for sure, but I do enjoy it. But anything else exciting going on in Kevin's life?
I did watch the first 2 episodes of the new Masters of the Universe on Netflix.
How is that? I was kind of skeptical.
It's a show for sure.
So it's not as good as the new Transformers cartoon.
No, the War Cry or War on Cybertron, whatever it is on Netflix, is definitely, that's a good show.
Okay,
probably the best version of Transformers I've seen. But yeah, He-Man, I don't know. I mean, the animation's updated, so there's
it did look pretty cool compared to the 80s cartoon for sure. It did look pretty legit.
So I don't know. I'll have to watch a couple more episodes to see, but I don't know. I was kind of not really that impressed.
But the main thing, it's exciting. The pandemic, although it seems to be on the rise again in Florida, it's particularly bad with this Delta variant. But
yeah, it's like that in Texas, in some parts of Texas.
The movie theaters opened again a couple months ago, for real. And I've got back into the movies again. Oh man. I started with A Quiet Place 2, which was a great movie. If you saw the first one, second one is just as good.
I haven't, but okay.
Then, definitely a good. If you like monster movies, I think you'd like it. It's very visually interesting, and I like it because the audio editing is it's so quiet, but it's just really done so well. Definitely worth a watch for sure. And it has some really cool one of the main characters is deaf, and I like seeing that in pop culture. But that was a good movie. So In the Heights, that was entertaining. We like Hamilton, so we saw In the Heights. It was pretty good.
Oh yeah. Tasha, or for those who are listening who don't know, Tasha's my wife. She said something about that movie. I didn't see that either though.
It's pretty fun. It was originally a Broadway play back in like 2005 or 2006 or something, and they made a movie out of it. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. I listened to the soundtrack. There's a song called 96,000, and he raps about Frodo from Lord of the Rings and Obi-Wan Kenobi are in this rap on a Broadway musical. It's pretty cool. So that was pretty enjoyable. And then I saw Black Widow, which I know you haven't seen yet, but I did enjoy that. But there's one movie in particular I wanted to spend some time talking about that I saw recently. The movie Old. Now, what do you know about this movie?
That it's old, perhaps. I don't know. Isn't that an M. Night Shyamalan Lama Ding Dong movie?
Yes, it is. It's his newest. It's the newest addition to the M. Night Shyamalan movies, and he's hit or miss. Okay, I gotta say something about him.
I'm gonna be honest with him. The only movies he did that I liked were Sixth Sense and The Village, and that's it.
Dude, Unbreakable's great. I love Unbreakable.
It's okay.
So, but I will say Sixth Sense is great. Unbreakable's good. The Village is entertaining. Split was very cool, but there's been some bad ones too. There's been some. I think this one might be leaning more towards that category.
Yeah.
So when you hear the title, I want to see if the little game I'm going to play with you today is see if you can figure out what it's about. But I'm going to tell you the title first, Old, and then I'm going to read some quotes from you, and I want to see how long it takes you to figure out what the movie is about. So when you hear the title Old, what is your first inclination?
There's some old stuff in there. Maybe an old person, perhaps.
Old people. You're on the right track there. Okay. So let me read a quote for you from it and see what you can do with this. There's something wrong with this beach. That's a quote.
So there's old people on a beach.
Young Trent is a character. Young Trent. Are we there yet? You said 5 minutes. Technically, it's been more than 5 minutes. Then his mom says, let's all just start slowing down.
So I'm going to say it's like kind of like having an immortality sort of vibe to it. Like, so there's like some young people who are like really actually old people.
Interesting. Yeah, you're getting closer. A little bit into the movie, one of the young kids says, my swimsuit is hurting. And the mom says, they do look small.
So in addition to aging at a different rate, they also grow like giants. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, listen to this dialogue. What happened to her? The body has decomposed. How quickly can that happen? 7 years. But she just died.
Maybe they're stuck in a time loop and they don't know how old they are.
All right. The end of the movie, towards the end of the film, there's another quote I'm going to share with you here. And this one, I think this one's just going to make you all kinds of confused. How would you feel if a 50-year-old man called you and told you he was your 6-year-old nephew?
I don't even know, man. There's some sort of time loop thing going on. It sounds dumb.
Okay. So the premise is, are you okay with spoilers? First of all, I should ask you that.
I'm not going to see this movie, I promise you.
Okay, perfect. So, all right, listen.
So anybody else who's listening, if you haven't seen Old yet and you really want to for some reason, spoiler alert.
So, okay, I will say, I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly here. The good, the camera work is actually very good in this movie. It's a very visually interesting film, and he's always been pretty good at that sort of thing. Yeah, no matter what the movie is.
Yeah, his cinematography is usually pretty good.
He has a real good knack for that. Like, there's lots of cool one shots, and then like it really adds to the terror of the film because it's meant to be a horror movie. The bad, the script was awful. I hated it. It was so bad. And it was just not well written. The concept is interesting, and I'll tell you that is in a minute. And then ugly. Well, just the whole production, it just didn't come together the way it had so much potential, but it wasn't delivered the right way. But so here's what happens. This family goes on vacation, right? And you find out the mom and dad are having some marital issues, and and mom has a tumor, and this is kind of like their last like thing they're doing together to kind of as a family before either they get divorced or mom dies or whatever. So they go to this beach, and then the guy at the beach is like, "Hey, there's a private beach you and your family can go to," and like, "Oh, that sounds great." So they go to this private beach. They soon they find out it's not private, and there's a couple other people there as well. Each party has someone in the family or in their party that's sick somehow. Like the mom has a tumor in the one, so the lady has epilepsy, so the person has like schizophrenia, and they all have there's something wrong with at least one person in their group, and they're all on this beach now, and they can't escape the beach. They try leaving, and they're stuck there. They get blackout and end up back on the beach, and they soon find out that they are aging rapidly. So the 6-year-old, his swimsuit starts to hurt because he's getting older, and all the kids are growing up, and then you see these characters get older, and like basically I think it's like every half hour is like a year of their life or something weird like that, and they basically age 50 years in one day. That's the concept of the movie.
Yeah, that sounds dumb.
And it's just like one of the examples of the bad acting / writing. One of the families has a dog with them, and the dog like dies pretty quickly because dogs don't live as long as humans. And this one guy's like, "Oh no, the dog has died." It's just like, what is going on here? And the lady's tumor grows very quickly because she's on the beach where all your cells are multiplying at a huge level. And one of the other characters is a doctor. He's like, "Let me cut her open." So he like cuts her open with this pocket knife to take the tumor out, and it heals right away because everything goes rapid fire there. And they're like, so he cuts her open again, and they're like, "Stick your fingers in, hold it, stop it from healing." And they stick their fingers in her gut basically, and they pull out this tumor. And one of the characters is like, "It's the size of a cantaloupe." And they pull out this big old nasty looking bulge out of her, and then afterwards, she just had a tumor removed, mind you. She says, "I feel better." It's really goofy, man.
My question is, why is this random dude sending sick people to a beach in which they like age faster? Like, what's his motive for doing that?
So that is a great question. You know how M. Night Shyamalan loves his twists. Let's see if you can guess this twist, because you're kind of getting there with that question.
I don't know.
Allow me to tell you about some of the other people on the beach. So the doctor who cuts open this woman and removes the tumor, he has like schizophrenia and dementia combined, kind of like some stuff going on, and he's like in the middle of like surgery, if you want to call it that. He's like, "What was that movie with Marlon Brando in it?" And he just starts going off, and he's just like losing his mind kind of. There's another character who has epilepsy, and you see before they go to the beach, they see her at the resort, and she has a seizure, right? And then the whole time they're in the beach, she doesn't have a seizure until the point where she dies. Which beach time, she's probably like an old woman at this point when she has another seizure. So she went her whole like several years, if you will, without having a seizure. Does that kind of see if that kind of leads you in the?
No, I'm not. I'm
still in the dark,
it.
huh? All right. So you find out everyone dies except for the two kids. The one 6-year-old boy is like 50, and his sister's like 56 or something now. I don't know. And they get off the beach through a series of really weird events that I won't spend time getting into, but they get off the beach, and they find out what you find out. The twist is this beach is some weird magnetic thing on the earth where time goes quicker on this one beach. People age faster for some reason. They don't ever tell you why, but that's just the way it is in this little beach. And then the owner of the resort is actually like a scientist, a researcher, and they're testing medications and the effects of medications in the aging process. So they can test the medications in a very like what would normally take a lifelong trial. They can do it in one day. And so it's kind of like an unethical experiment, basically. And then
so the crazy dude that sends him to the beach, does he also send him to the beach with these medications?
Yeah, so when they first arrived to the resort, he's like, "Oh, we made you a cocktail based on the survey you took online." And what it really is the medication they're testing on them. And like they drink the cocktail and um, the medication's in them, and then the next day they're at the beach.
But if everything ages faster, wouldn't that mean like the medication's dwell time is also equally going faster? So like, even though they're collecting data for like over a year, like if you have to take, so let's say you have to take 3 doses of a medication over the course of a day, right? If you go on the beach, those 3 days, each of those doses wouldn't be like every 8 hour or every 8 hours like you would in a normal day. They'd be like every 20 years or something. So it's not really very good research, is it?
some compounding variables there.
M. Night Shyamalan, learn some medicine before you make a movie like this.
Learn some science. But they ended up finding a cure for the lady had epilepsy. That's why she didn't have a seizure the whole time, because whatever they gave her worked. And they're like, and when it goes to the scientist's lab at the end, it's like, let's have a moment of silence for those who passed away on the beach. And then he said, we made some great findings today, and they found the cure for this epilepsy. And but they don't realize the 2 kids escaped, and the kids come and like basically they find a cop at the resort and kind of shut the whole thing down. And then it ends with that quote: "How would you feel if a 50-year-old man called you and he was your 6-year-old nephew?" It's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, that sounds pretty dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it was entertaining. Like, I feel kind of bad because it's meant to be a horror movie, but when I watched it, I was laughing more than I was.
It doesn't sound like it.
I was laughing a lot more than I was like getting scared. Oh, I didn't tell you about the one character. There's another girl on the beach, and she so her and not the brother and sister, but this other girl and the brother, they are alone for a little while. And in beach life, they're about like 14 or something. And then it goes back to the other group of people. And then you see them again, and this girl's pregnant suddenly. But it's pretty wild though. Then so she has the baby, and because they don't have like the one doctor they have on the beach is like losing his mind because he's got dementia, and so the baby dies, which is sad or whatever. But it's just really bizarre to see. My buddy Zach and I went to go see it, and we came home from the movie, and we were telling Stephanie about it, and everything I said, Zach was like, everything you say makes it sound more dumb than you did a second ago.
Dude, so let's say the baby lived, all right? Sorry.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
This whole concept's dumb. Let's say the baby lived. So with that in mind, like before the first diaper change of this baby, they're already like 3 or 4. So like instantly they should be out there at an age where they should have developed some degree where they can like talk and things like that.
Yeah.
But these sort of things take time. So like the baby would never develop like mentally or cognitively. This is really stupid, dude. This is the stupidest idea I've ever heard for a movie. Why would you make something like that?
Now you kind of want to watch it though, don't you?
No, I really don't. But every time I think about something, I was like, wait a minute. It's especially because like you're in the medical field, I'm in the medical field, and I keep thinking like medically speaking, the reasons why this movie is stupid.
And it's interesting because like one of the characters, the mom, she ends up developing a hearing loss by the end of the movie, and the dad ends up developing like blindness by the end of the movie. And it's all like by the end of the day. Like they start off the beach, they're like probably in their 30s. End of it, they're like 80, and they're like done. But it's definitely interesting. It was a fun movie. If you want to have a good chuckle, it's worth checking out.
I don't know, man. It sounds pretty dumb to me.
One thing, they're pretty heavy-handed about this. I think the whole thing he was going for is like, we're always in a rush to get to the next part of our life. We should just enjoy the moment. I think that's kind of the moral of the story, if you will.
Yeah, and didn't Click do that too? Except that actually was funny and like supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of
well, I guess Click wasn't really that funny. It was okay.
It's kind of a dark movie for an Adam Sandler film, actually. But
he's in a lot of crazy movies, man.
But so I think that's the theme he was going for. But he kind of made it very clear that this is the theme he was going for. Like it wasn't just like, oh, something you know how like when you're watching, there's always an artistic or symbolic thing in film, and you're it's up to you to kind of figure it out. But he's like, hey, this is what I'm going for here. Let me tell you. He like in the beginning of the movie, like the mom is the little girl singing, and she's like, I can't wait to hear what you sound like when you get older. And like the one little boy is talking about, oh man, I can't wait till I have a mortgage, and like all these things that are like,
what kid says that?
he was talking to his friends like, when we're older, we can live next to each other and talk about our mortgages and stuff like that. And it's just, but like he says things.
Well, hold on. How old is this kid supposed to be when he has this conversation?
He's 6.
Dude, I don't know about you, but when I was 6 years old, the only thing I wanted was like a new Transformer toy. Like,
well, I think he's like, he heard his parents talking about it or something. I don't know.
Dude, how do you even know what a mortgage is?
And, oh yeah, and before they go to the beach, whatever, when they're just at the resort, the little beach they have at the resort, him and his buddy that he meets at the resort, they go around talking to people like, what are your names and occupations? And like, and they just go up to adults and say this. So I think he's just going for this theme of like, hey, these kids want to get older really fast.
Who talks like that? What 6-year-old talks like that?
But one of my favorite things is there's the first character on the beach. He's a rapper. He's like this cool rapper, and his rapping name is Mid-Sized Sedan. So when the little girl, when she first gets to the beach, she's like 13 or whatever, and she's like, Dad, that's Mid-Sized Sedan. I was like, that's a weird name for a rapper, but I think it kind of goes back to that theme again, because a lot of families have mid-sized sedans, and he's trying to like drive that point home in the film, and I mean, he does. I never figure out his twist. I like to try and say I do, but I will say they're always pretty clever. Whether they're, I can never figure them out. But
wait, didn't you do one where like trees were killing people?
I never saw that one. It's called The Happening. I did hear about this. The trees were killing people. I never watched that one though.
I never watched it either.
Or Signs, when the aliens are allergic to water or something weird like that.
Dude, okay, so I have issues with that too. If you're a freaking alien, obviously, if you're an alien race, intelligent enough to visit another planet being Earth, of course, you should also be intelligent enough to realize that like 90% of or 75% of the freaking planet is water. Man, we don't like water. That planet sure has a lot of it on her. Yeah, let's go there anyway. Like, stupid aliens, they deserve to die.
Did you see Split? I can't remember if you saw Split or not.
No, I didn't see any of those.
So, spoiler alert here. The Split, when it first came out, I had no idea it was going to be connected to Unbreakable. Turns out at the very end of the movie, it is. They're in the same like universe or whatever. I thought that was a pretty cool twist. I did like that. When I remember seeing Split, I was like, it was how I figured it out at the end of the movie. I heard some music like that. I'm like, that music sounds an awful lot like the soundtrack to Unbreakable. Because I listened to a lot of movie scores when I was studying in school, so I just knew that score. And then right afterwards, Bruce Willis shows up. I'm like, oh, no way. And then like that was the twist. It was like, and then he made a third one called Glass, and it just like Unbreakable was cool, Split was cool, Glass just tanked it. It was so bad. It was not a very good movie at all. But yeah, anyway, movies are a big thing. I joined Regal Unlimited, so I'm hoping to get to the movies a little bit more, even if they're bad, like old. I still want to see them.
There isn't really a whole lot. Well, first, I don't even really know what's out, but what I do know is out, there isn't really anything that's all that really interesting to me.
Well, there is one that you were particularly.
There is one. I went to go see one a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I saw Snake Eyes because, as you know, I'm a huge G.I. Joe nerd,
and so I wanted to see Snake Eyes, but it got bad reviews. Of course, Old Soul also got bad reviews, and I saw that one. But Snake Eyes kind of got bad reviews too. So convince me why I should go see it.
Because it's dope. It was pretty good. When I first heard those coming out, I was kind of iffy, just because, you know, I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan. I looked at it, I was like, I don't know about that, because the last two G.I. Joe movies they made were pretty bad. I still like them, but they're pretty bad.
They're bad. I only saw the first one, to be fair.
They're not really G.I. Joe movies. They're just run-of-the-mill action flicks that have G.I. Joe titles, you know?
Yeah.
So they weren't that great. And but Larry Hama, who basically created G.I. Joe, not like the old school toys were, you know, back in the day, but like what we know as G.I. Joe, like Destro, Cobra Commander, Duke, all the characters. Yeah. They're pretty much creations of him, from him. And so he had put a Facebook post up that said that because he went to an early showing of Snake Eyes. And so I put a post up that said, hey, you know, this was a pretty good it was, you know, decent martial arts movie. It's not the story that I wrote, but was still, you know, good to see. So I was like, okay, it's got his approval. I'll go watch it. So yeah, I went to go see it. I liked it. It definitely is not the G.I. Joe that we are familiar with.
Sure.
by any means. Snake Eyes is almost an entirely different character than what you're used to.
Yeah.
But it worked. Like I thought it would work, and I think that's where a lot of negative reviews come from, or like people who are like huge GI Joe
The
nerds, like,
diehard
"Oh."
fans.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this movie was garbage because Snake Eyes. He talks in this movie because Snake Eyes doesn't talk normally,
Yeah.
and he talks for the whole movie. So you're like, ooh, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good, and it was interesting the direction they went. Like the way Snake Eyes' character is like, so he's not the Snake Eyes you're normally used to.
Yeah.
Because Snake Eyes in comic books and stuff, and back in the day was like a very kind of broken but very noble character.
Yeah, and dark and mysterious a little bit too.
Yeah. So in this version, Snake Eyes is, not even gonna lie, he's kind of an ass. Like it's a strange approach that they took with it, but I thought it worked. I thought it was pretty good, and the action scenes are fantastic. And on top of that, it's a Snake Eyes origin story. So they bring up G.I. Joe and Cobra, but they do it in a way that it's not like overbearing.
Yeah.
It's not like, ooh, this is a G.I. Joe movie. Look, it's kind of like, there's a G.I. Joe Cobra like plot in the background, but they don't really go into a whole lot of depth with it, which I thought was cool because the story is not about G.I. Joe and Cobra. It's about Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
So this was just sort of a background thing that was going on.
Do you think they're building like a universe thing, like the Marvel universe or Star Wars, where they have like a bunch of stuff going on, or
yes,
where they're going to go with this?
I actually found out recently, and you and I were talking about this. I was like, that'd be kind of interesting if they did like a whole Hasbro universe. So I was reading an article. I was reading an article online, and it turns out that is potentially what they want to do.
Interesting.
So
that has potential.
Yeah, so they want to come on. So, and I don't know. There's only one article I read, so I could have been just making stuff up. I don't know. Not everything on the internet's true, obviously, but supposedly, like GI Joe, they wanted to do like somehow combine like GI Joe with Transformers, with some other Hasbro properties, eventually.
Oh, that'd be cool. Isn't there like what else is a Hasbro property?
Yeah, I can't remember. There's a list of them. I can't remember what they all were. Honestly, the only ones anybody cares about are G.I. Joe and Transformers. And I do feel like that would be cool, but they have to reboot Transformers first because those Transformer movies kind of got... Well, no, Bumblebee was good. Bumblebee was good. I don't know if you saw that one or not.
Yeah, I did not.
Yeah, dude, definitely see that. So like the first one was good, and the second one was garbage, the third one was garbage. I didn't bother with the fourth, fifth, and how many are there? I don't even know how many of those movies there are. But I did watch Bumblebee, and I was actually impressed with that one. That one was pretty good.
So if they're making a Hasbro universe, I'll just look this up. Are they going to include My Little Pony? Because the bronies out there would be so excited about that.
Dude, I was wondering about that. Like, how would that even work? Like, I mean, I'd be down, I guess, maybe. No, I wouldn't. That'd be dumb.
Yeah, Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony.
Oh, if you remember a few years ago, they made a Battleship movie. And if I recall, Hasbro actually, I think Battleship is actually a Hasbro property. Like a lot of those games are.
Liam Neeson's is going to be in the G.I. Joe universe.
Dude, he totally could be. I'd be fine with just them doing a G.I. Joe like cinematic universe.
Yeah. I think, or at least a good series of films.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed that Snake Eyes did so poorly because, like I said, it was I thought it was a decent movie. It was pretty good. And it definitely had potential to put more movies in it. Like it could progress. It for sure could progress in a cool way. And I always wanted there to be a G.I. Joe series of movies.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of G.I. Joe stuff they do ends up falling short.
It's like it's sad to say, but I don't think a lot of people are interested even in, like, other than the G.I. Joe people. Like, the nice thing about the Marvel stuff, even if you weren't into the comic books, you wanted to see that movie because it was like a superhero movie. Whereas unless you're into G.I. Joe, you probably aren't going to go see the G.I. Joe movies. Yeah, like maybe you would, but
yeah, and the same thing with and plus like Transformers, even if you're not like a huge fan of Transformers, like see where you go see a movie because hey, it's cool giant robots turn to cars. Like just automatically you're like, that looks cool. But you can't really, G.I. Joe, and I think that's kind of the problem with G.I. Joe as a franchise, is people typically only think of the old cartoon, which is not the best way I'll be honest, one of the worst G.I. Joe properties is the old cartoon.
I mean, it's fun because what it is, but yeah,
it's fun for what it is for sure. I liked it as a kid. I'll still watch it now. My son likes it, but like the comic books actually had, depth to them, and of course the toy line. And then there's a couple other ones that are pretty good. Like G.I. Joe Renegades was a short-lived series that was good.
I think I watched part of that.
There was a mini mini web series that they made called G.I. Joe Resolute. That's really good. So there's a few good ones. But yeah, it doesn't appeal to people, I don't think, in a way that a lot of other things do, which is unfortunate because it has a lot of potential.
Yeah, and I think it could be really cool. I'd love to see like a really good live Cobra Commander. Like I think
for sure.
Cool.
For sure. And
he's such an interesting character too.
Yeah, he is an interesting character. And you can't, and then they had those other two G.I. Joe movies where Joseph Gordon-Levitt played Cobra Commander, and it just, I don't know, that it was a weird version of Cobra Commander, just wasn't working for me. But I did go see it. So, Tasha and the kids were here. The weekend I went to see it. So I went to go see it with Tasha. And this is what's funny. She had absolutely no interest in G.I. Joe at all because she doesn't. And she thinks I'm a huge dork for liking it. And so she went to see Black Widow initially because she said it looked kind of interesting. So I was like, hey, when you come, we can go see Black Widow. I was like, G.I. Joe's or Snake Eyes just got released. I kind of want to see that too. Tasha looks at me and goes, well, I mean, the actor in the poster looks kind of cute. So yeah, we can go see that. So she went to go see it just because she thought the guy looked good. She had no interest in the movie at all. But even she was like, after we were done, she was asking me about like the characters from the comic book and stuff and how they're different and things like that. And then she was like, she even told me, she's like, I actually kind of like that movie. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So
I'll have to check it out. I know it's still in theaters, and I need to go. I want to see that one. Jungle Cruise looks pretty cool. I want to see that.
Yeah, it looks like
another couple of weeks from now. Shang-Chi is going to come out. Definitely going to see that one. And the Eternals later this year. Spider-Man later this year. And I don't know if you heard about this. There's going to be a new Resident Evil movie called Welcome to Raccoon City, and it's like about the first two games. Like Albert Wesker's in it, and the Redfields and Leon. So I think that could be like it's all about the Spencer Mansion.
Yeah, that I'll watch. I'll watch that because I think cool. Resident Evil 1 is a good game. Resident Evil 2 is a good game. Resident Evil 3 I think is a good game, but I never got to finish it because the copy I had a huge scratch and I could never get past a certain point, which made me really mad. But I feel like how many underground secret laboratories can a corporation actually have? So how many? They're in like what, 7 or something like that? What number of game are they even on right now? There's so many of these stupid games. I don't know. And there's like a series of like gun rail games. Resident Evil Chronicles or something like that.
Resident Evil 0. That game was actually pretty sweet. It's kind of
I never played that one, but I heard that one was pretty good. I don't know. I feel like outside the main story, like that initial first story, like Raccoon City, so basically 0 through 3. I feel like that should have been like the end of it. Like, I mean, I know 0 came later, but like narrative wise, there's a good block. You're in one location. Yeah. Why they had a secret lab underneath a mansion and underneath the city itself, I don't quite understand. Why have 2 secret labs in the same location? I don't really get that. But like it was in one location. It was like a contained, because I feel like this was like a real thing. It would be a very contained sort of situation.
Yeah, for sure.
It should just left it with that. Or if they did have more games, like have new characters, like in that same setting. You know what I mean?
I think there's one where like Code Veronica, where they go to some island or something weird like that. It's like
they should just they should have kept with the Raccoon City setting, because you could have done a variety of games from a perspective of different characters.
Yeah,
and it still would have been decent, although that would have been even more labs in the same location. But you get what I'm saying, like.
Well, I think like the newer stuff, as far as I understand, of course I haven't played it, so people who play Resident Evil diehards out there, you can correct me, but I think they stepped away from Umbrella a little bit, and it's this other weird stuff that's going on. I think there's still loose threads tying it to Umbrella, but like I don't think it is Umbrella proper, if that makes any sense. But anyway, that's all the time we have today, folks. But thanks for listening to our discussion of Old and Snake Eyes and various other things. There's something about Snake Eyes that's going to transition to our next big topic, though. So, Kevin, why don't you?
Yeah.
introduce
So,
that?
for people who have been listening to us since the start of this little thing, early on last year, we did a series of episodes called Unlikely Throwdowns.
My
which-
favorites.
Yeah, which we would take. And Snake Eyes was one of the characters used. He felt Hans Gruber. I do feel like the Snake Eyes movie would have been way more dope if Hans Gruber showed up.
Yes.
But anyway,
sure.
but anyway, so we did that. Hans Gruber beat Snake Eyes, so good on him. But so basically, the premise of this was we would take two characters from very completely different, franchises and pit them against each other in a battle and see who won. And the results were interesting. We had a lot of fun with it last year when we did it, and so because we did it around this same time last year, we're going to do that again. So, for anybody, our listeners, if you have any suggestions for characters you would like to put into our Unlikely Throwdowns, let us know, and maybe we'll include them.
And it can be absolutely anybody, as long as it's
Yeah,
a fictional character. Like, I don't want to do no like historical figures because it has to be fictional characters.
Oh, let's put General Pershing against Caesar or something like that. No, that's weird.
that'd be boring anyway. Who wants to listen to that?
I mean, I would, but I'm a dork like that.
Any ideas you have, though, send them our way. Well, I'm excited. David will get back into that one, and we're gonna have fun with it this year for sure. So,
yep. So I give suggestions so we can have them for the next episode, so we can set up the series, and then we'll go from there.
All righty. See you later, folks.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of BBP, or the Brothers Born podcast, if you want to be less cool sounding. Anyway, Kevin and I talked about some movies we had seen recently, Old and Snake Eyes. We enjoyed them in their own special way, I guess. If any of you have seen these movies, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with us? Disagree with us? Love to hear what you think. So, we're hitting that year mark, folks. Brothers Born podcast has been out for a year, and you know what that means. The Unlikely Throwdowns are making a return. That's right. Last year, the three of us put characters from different franchises up against each other. We're going to do it again. If you have any suggestions for characters you'd like to see in this year's version of the Unlikely Throwdowns, send us an email, brothersbornpodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/brothersbornpodcast. All right, look forward to talking to you again real soon.